This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome into the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Alongside Alex, I am Ben here, bringing down the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. Just before we get into the show, we are getting our air conditioning installed. Finally,
here
thank
at the
God.
studio.
Here in the studio, we're getting our air conditioning installed. They're installing it literally right outside. So if you hear like any loud
trucks,
beeping, like backing up, just beep beep. That is what's going on. You know, nothing to worry about. Just if that happens, currently it's not going on, thankfully.
Yeah.
But you know, we can't make any guarantees. We're not obviously outside looking. So
yeah, I don't even know if the truck is there anymore.
Maybe they're done already. Like maybe a half hour ago when we got here,
they were already an hour into the job.
They were just, and it was all on the mics and everything. So we're like, oh, we'll have to just tell everyone. But now it seems like they might be done. So.
Dude, that's awesome news.
We'll have to find out, so can't make any guarantees. But
fingers crossed.
So you had mentioned before the show, Alex, that you have something really, really exciting that you're doing this weekend, 4th of July weekend. So what exactly is that?
You put it that way. I just wanted you to ask me like it was some normal question because it's not. I mean, it's fun. It's not like the most amazing thing ever. Well,
okay, I apologize. So what are you doing this weekend? How about that?
Nothing much, you know. No, I was super excited because I reminded myself that tomorrow is when the new Blink-182 CD comes out, which technically means here we can get it, I think, like around 8 because East Coast time it's just going to go up on iTunes, you know? Does
it go? I'm not really familiar with that kind of stuff, so does it go up at a certain time every time?
It's usually like the day, you know, but I remember I pre-ordered A Day to Remember's last CD, who has a new CD coming out in August. I'm super stoked about that. But
yeah, I know of that band.
It came out a couple days before my birthday, 2013, I want to say. And I pre-ordered it on iTunes, and it came out like at 8 o'clock the day before. So I was like, oh, it must be 8, 9, 10, or 9 o'clock. So I was like, actually, it came out earlier than that. So I don't know what time zone is going by. But I've had some that come up earlier, like the last Muse CD that I was waiting for pre-order-wise popped up at around 9 or whatever. So it must be going. You know, they're from England, so actually maybe it was English time. I don't know.
They are 8 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, everyone's.
Here in
you can trick your computer sometimes because some computers or some bands won't do it. They'll make you wait your time zone.
You can just set the time zone ahead.
Well, no, some on iTunes it's tricky. You have to make your computer think you are in a different like region of the world because it's like smart, you know.
But yeah, it's a computer.
But yeah, the new CD comes out, dude. I'm so stoked.
What else about your weekend?
And I'm going up to Lake Shasta out here in California for 4th of July with my girlfriend.
Going
and a friend
camping
of ours.
and stuff?
No, they have a houseboat.
Nice.
It's nice. And they have a
I've
boat
camped
and
up
some
there
jet
before.
skis. I haven't camped up there. I've honestly only camped out past Blue Lake and in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Yeah, I've camped up there. I camped up there one time. It's pretty nice.
No, it is very nice. I went last year with her, and the water level was really low. So I'm interested to see how high it is this year.
And hopefully much more.
That's what I've heard.
We had probably like our best rainy season
so far, yeah. And we
of the last few years.
We took the jet skis out to like where the dam is. You know, the dam, like say normally it's 15 feet, which it's not. Obviously, it's hundreds of feet, but say it's normally 15 feet, right? Like I guess we got so much water that only 8 feet of it's showing. You know, in that sense, you know, it filled up a lot. You know, so I'm pretty excited. Then we're coming back for the 4th, so we'll be here, and then whatever plans await. You know.
That's good. On Tuesday, you'll have to recap your weekend for us.
I will. I'd be happy to.
I'm interested to find out what you're doing because yours is going to be a lot more eventful than mine. So.
Are you interested in finding out exactly how many times I listened to the Blink-182 CD?
I'm just going to take a guess. A drive up there is a good 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm going with my girlfriend, and she likes a couple songs on there, but I don't think she's going to want me to play every one of them.
I'm going to guess you're going to listen to it.
I'm bringing my headphones.
6 to 8 times.
Well, see, when new music comes out, I love lots of different music, but whether it be rock or metal or R&B and rap and alternative and things like that of that nature. whatever you want to call like some of the new stuff nowadays, like what 21 Pilots is, whatever they are, things like that. I don't love them. I like one of their songs, but things like that. When I have one of like a favorite band of mine, which is A Day to Remember is one of them, Linkin Park is one of them, Blink-182 is one of them. When they have a new CD come out, or Muse' last CD last year, I literally just listen to that almost like primarily. Like I don't really listen to anything else. Like I listened to Muse nonstop when that CD came out for a good 2.5, 3 weeks. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, Ben. I'll definitely let you know.
All right, so enough of the weekend.
Well, also on Tuesday we'll have to give a recap of what happens this weekend in the world of the NBA.
Yeah, the free agency is getting kicked off tonight.
Yep.
Oh, hold on, let me rephrase that. The NBA free agency is tipping off tonight.
Oh man, you're back.
It's at midnight Eastern, 9 o'clock here in the West Coast, which is great.
Tips off at midnight.
Because we will still be awake for most of this stuff.
I'll be
to
awake.
Learn about it. Obviously, if you're on the East Coast, midnight, you're probably going to be asleep when
free I'm going to be awake because I'm waiting for that CD.
Right, so we're going to be awake to see some of these preliminary headlines, talks, agreements
rumors,
that go on, rumors. So
agreement in principle.
So we're going to dedicate this whole show really to the NBA free agency. It's really big this year. I'd say more so because you have the salary cap going up. So you have it went from up to about $97 million. So you have the option to sign literally 4 max player guys.
Yeah.
So that adds a lot more interesting storylines in the mix because literally every team has money now.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one of the more real interesting free agency periods in the NBA in a while, I would say. Not many super interesting headline topic, excluding like when LeBron was a free agent, obviously.
With the whole decision.
Yeah, I want to say that this is one of the better free agency pools that we've had. In at least the top 10 is really heavy, then it kind of drops off from there. But it's one of the more interesting ones to look at, I suppose.
I would agree, especially with how players nowadays are structuring their deals with their teams. A lot of players are doing like 2-year deals and then with a player option after 1 year, so they literally become a free agent every single year. LeBron's done that a couple of years in a row now. I think that's going to be the popular trend. But with free agency, I think this is where it hurts the NBA. With the salary cap going up, we mentioned every team has money.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw out – we talk a lot about the Kings. They're local here. Alex, you're a big fan.
I am.
I go to a lot of the games. My grandma's a season ticket holder. I'm not a Kings fan,
lucky.
but so I go to a lot of the games. They've been really a bottom feeder for the last 10, 12 years. With every team having money – I think this definitely benefits the teams that are already good.
Yeah, I actually have a list of when you're finished, I actually have a list of the current payrolls of the teams as well.
Okay, so we'll dive into that. Let me just finish this real quick.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I think this is where it hurts the NBA because with every team having money, I'm going to throw out Kevin Durant. He's the biggest free agent.
Yeah.
Obviously, LeBron is going to go back to Cleveland, so you can pretty much cross him out. With Kevin Durant being a free agent, every team having the option really to sign him to a max deal, maybe needing to make 1 or 2 small deals to clear up that space. Mm-hmm. But with him being a free agency and going really anywhere he wants, he's going to go to the top teams in the NBA, not a team like the Kings.
No, of course.
The Kings also not a big market. They're around 20 in the United States, which is not bad, but it's not L.A.
Yeah.
It's not New York.
The only
it's not
thing
Chicago,
they have to look
Boston.
at is everything new this year, Like I've said in past shows, those are things that would appeal to me as a player, but if I'm not a fan of the Kings like I am, like if the Kings wanted me to play for them, I'd be like, oh yeah, But for a guy like Kevin Durant, that's really the only thing to look at. Like, okay, you have Cousins there, who's an all-star, right? And you have, okay, hey, maybe I can come in and maybe we can win some games. But really, it would be, hey, there's a new stadium, new regime, things like that. Other than that, there's not much that would draw me to the Kings. So yeah.
Right. So I think the top teams are obviously going to get the best players. Mm-hmm. And then here's my other problem with how free agency works is.
Okay.
You have to spend a certain percentage of your money. You can't say okay, the salary cap is $97 million. I'm going to spend 50 of it and have a 40. You have to spend, I think it's $90 million of the 97. It's like a certain percentage. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you have to spend the money.
Or you straight up lose it.
So if you're not getting the top guys, that means you're having to overpay for some of these mid-level guys.
100%.
And I don't really agree with that. Like, they're really getting more than they're worth. Like, you could have to give a max deal to a guy. I'm just going to throw out a name. I have the list here of, like, the top 100 free agents. I'm going to throw out I'm going to say Kent Bazemore. He's number 16. He's a point guard. He's formerly of the Hawks. I'm going to throw out Kent Bazemore. He's going to be earning $15, $16, $17 million a year when a guy like Durant's earning like 24.
Okay.
So he's earning way much more than he's probably worth. But you're having to do this because you literally have to sign free agents. So you're going to have to overpay.
Yeah, that's
So you have
true.
the rich teams getting richer by getting the best free agents.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the mid-level teams or the lower-tier teams getting really the best of the rest and overpaying for those guys because they really have to.
Yeah, it's not really how you see it in the NFL where guys will go to teams that maybe like the Browns or teams that have gigantic cap space that aren't necessarily the best teams, you know?
And that's how it used to be in the NBA because not every team would have cap space. As the over time in the next maybe 3 years, the NBA salary cap is going to level out, but it's going to go up this year and it's going to go up again next year. So you're going to have more free agents like Russell Westbrook. Depending on some of how these guys structure their deals, you could have another free agent. Like, who knows, Durant could be a free agent again. But it's just I don't really agree with it because you're not making the league more competitive.
Yeah. I didn't, it's not something I even really thought of until you mentioned it. But it's something you think of, but it's not something that really popped up into my mind, I suppose you could say. If you look at cap space, pretty much here, you do have teams, yes, lower teams have the higher cap space. You have the Sixers at number 1, obviously, with $46 million of cap space overall. And then it drops from there down to the Brooklyn Nets at $26 million. You have the top 10 rounded up by the Utah Jazz, Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, Indiana Pacers, Boston Celtics, Detroit Pistons, and the Magic. And then just missing the list would be the Kings at 11, as we mentioned before. So, and then, that compared to payroll alone, you have Golden State at $80 million, and they have a cap space of, if I can find it really quickly, Golden State doesn't have the most cap space, really. They're actually below the cap right now at minus 16.
Yeah,
or above or whatever it is. But
they could easily restructure that.
Exactly.
Iguodala's got a huge contract. Reports are they're not really happy with Bogut. Maybe they can try and find a trade partner for one of those two guys. Mm-hmm. Harrison Barnes is a restricted free agent. They have extended an offer to him, but really Barnes' contract is going to depend on what other teams offer him. With being a restricted free agent, you might want to sign Harrison Barnes to a certain X amount of dollars, and in me being the Warriors, I have a few days to either match that offer or let him walk. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Ben and I also said we would preview the notable names and the kind of the top of the free agency pool, so we'll do that. But we're going to take a quick break first here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. So we're going to do that real quick. We'll be right back. You guys don't go anywhere.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
I thought for a second there you weren't going to whip out the 6-shooters.
I always whip them out,
Your
man.
patented move, but I was waiting for him, and I didn't see him.
I have them.
Well, yeah, I saw him come out now.
Yeah. See, I have to leave some to the imagination. Otherwise, what good is it?
You had to throw me a curveball and just wait for them.
I had to throw a curveball in the dirt and have you swing at it. And then you did, and we're good.
Okay, so now we're going to move on here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We're going to look at some of the top free agents of the year.
Yeah, I know we don't have to get into number 1 and number 2 because everybody knows number 1 and number 2 would be Kevin Durant and LeBron James. So don't really need to talk about them.
Yes,
Well,
we will talk about Durant.
Else.
We will talk about Durant.
Well, because he's a big deal.
And there still is that uncertainty with Durant.
Well, it's more so, we don't have to. Everybody knows he's ranked number 1.
Oh, okay, yes, on the list, yes.
Yes, apologies. We will talk very extensively about him, but yes, not really going to talk about LeBron. He's probably just
He already
smoothing
said he's
into.
staying in Cleveland. It really depends on what the contract is now.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, the last time Cleveland won a championship, you know who was the president?
Barack Obama?
No, the last time. So not like, 2 weeks ago last time.
Okay, I'm just kidding. So it's been 52 years. I don't know. I'm not good with this kind of stuff. Who is it?
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Okay, fun fact.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
All right, so moving on to the things that matter. Okay, so Kevin Durant. Everybody knows he is a free agent. He's probably one of the best 3 players in the NBA behind LeBron and Steph Curry. He's only 27. He hasn't taken a team to the finals yet, but he's been certainly.
No, he's been in the finals.
He's
He
been
hasn't
certainly
won it.
close.
He's been in the finals. They lost to the Heat, the first Heat championship.
I'm sorry, I was thinking. I meant this year. The way I said that. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry the way I said that. He almost took him to this year. He did take him to the. Of course, they lost to the Heat. He's pretty much recovered from his injuries from 2014, 2015. So what do you see happening here? Do you see him staying? You see him going? He could have a few contending offers. I actually have a few that I can read off to you here in a bit after you lay yours out if you'd like.
Yeah, so I know Durant is going to meet first off tonight with the Thunder. Then he's going to go on. He has more meetings over the next few days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's going to be talking to the Warriors, Clippers, Heat, Spurs,
Knicks.
I think Boston, and the Knicks. I expect him to stay in OKC.
Okay.
With all this going on, I really think it's down to 2 teams. It's either OKC or Golden State.
Yes, I have them as my favorites, and I have one team that they could be like an underdog team. So
My underdog would be the Spurs.
hey, same.
Because think about it this way.
Okay.
You're going to have – you used to have the big 3 in San Antonio with Ginobili, Parker, Duncan. You'd have a new big 3 with LaMarcus Aldridge, Kawhi Leonard, and KD. You have a championship pedigree with Greg Popovich. They've won 50-plus games for 19 years in a row now. Literally the definition of a dynasty.
Yep.
Greg Popovich, great coach. You'd get some great mentoring leadership. Looks like Duncan's going to come back and play 1 year. Perhaps Ginobili. Parker's aging, but he's still the starting point guard there, so he probably has a couple more years left. I think that would be definitely the dark horse. I don't see it happening. I see it down to the Warriors and the Thunder.
I don't see it happening. I do see the one thing I think that he could help with San Antonio would be small ball, kind of getting it through in that area. It's something they could improve on. But, yes, I see it being between the Thunder, him staying. I think he'll stay, and the Warriors. One thing I think he could do for the Warriors is really help the switch up on defense. He's a good defender. That's one thing that they struggle with.
He's so long and athletic.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how good at defending he is. He's not just a shooter; he's a guarder, man.
If he were to go to if he were to go to Golden State, I was going to say Oakland. If he were to go to Oakland with the Warriors, I think they'd probably have to dump Harrison Barnes.
Yes.
So someone will probably offer him a contract, depending upon what it is. We'll have to see there, but they probably would have to not match that offer. You'd probably move Draymond Green in the small lineup, Durant at the 4, or at the 3 you have Iguodala still, Clay and Steph. If you were to add Kevin Durant to this team, championship, Alex?
It's hard not to think not. I mean, you look at Harrison Barnes, who is a good defender for that team in the switch defense. Bringing Kevin Durant in just makes it even harder for them.
Plus
for
the
opponents,
added offensive
output, yeah. I mean, no offense to Harrison Barnes, but he's not
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant's a former MVP, So I think that would just make it even harder for teams. I mean, you have to account for Curry, you have to account for Clay now, you have to account for Draymond with the way he plays. Yeah, you're going to have to. I mean, look at Durant like that. I mean, you look at when people try to make these dream teams, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to happen," and then something doesn't quite work. Kevin Love, for instance, just doesn't work.
Not a good fit.
It's not a good fit. I think that Durant would fit the Warriors well. If he wants to win, and he wants to win now, go to Golden State.
That's where I think Golden State has that hope there, because I kind of compare it to LeBron when he went to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be leaving the Thunder, who I thought made a great NBA draft deadline deal there to ship out Ibaka and bring in Ilyasova, Victor Oladipo, and the rights to Domantas Sabonis. Thought that was a great deal. Makes the team better. But I feel like if you go to Golden State, as long as everyone is healthy, that is a sure thing. If you stick with the Thunder, you still have to go through Golden State.
What I think is interesting, too, is if you look at it, I think if you go to the Thunder, you can expect to be in the contention for a championship immediately. He doesn't need to go to Golden State for them to even be in contention.
No, but if he went there, it would be like...
It would be like they'd be favorites easily. Yeah. And so you have that, and then you have if he stays with Oklahoma City, right? Then you could say that they're going to say Westbrook stays as well. Then you say that they're no matter what going to be in contention for years to come as long as those two are on the team. But it goes from being in contention to being the favorite to win the finals to a team that just beat you in the semifinals. So it's a hard toss up. It comes down to things that fans and us that discuss it don't know. Things like personal preference, how he likes the city, how he does he have? I don't think he has. I think he has kids maybe. But how he, maybe his kids like the school there. There's so many things that come into that thought.
Got to ask his mama what she thinks. She's always courtside.
Yeah, every time. It's like T.O. Remember that? Oh, no, Donna McNabb, excuse me, not T.O.
With the Campbell soups and everything?
Yeah, but she's always be at every game, with her bedazzled out number 5 jersey. But, I think he'll stay with Oklahoma City because no matter what, they're a team, if Westbrook stays, they're a team that's in contention, But me personally, I would be hard-pressed not to go to Golden State.
Okay, so more about Durant. He's going to meet with about 6 teams.
Yes.
If we really think it's down to 2, maybe 3 with the Spurs, why is he even meeting with these other teams?
Well, they could offer him something that he doesn't even know is on the table. Like you said, he has...
Maybe like a parting gift when he comes to talk to him?
Yeah, like you said, he's got meetings set up with the Knicks. He's got... Well, actually, I'm sorry, he's meeting with Golden State first. Then he's flying to New York to meet with 5 other teams, all of them in New York, weirdly enough. Golden State, San Antonio, the Celtics, Miami Heat, Los Angeles Clippers, and he sort of has been talking to the Knicks because Carmelo and him are good friends.
Okay. Plus you have Derrick Rose, you have Phil Jackson.
That's another thing if you look at it that way.
There's no way he goes to New
I don't
York.
think so either, but there's so many things.
He's trying to win.
Well, think about it. So you go to Golden State and you join arguably the best team in the NBA, regardless of the fact that he's lost the finals to the Cavaliers, okay? You look at San Antonio where you join a storied franchise with a team that is always in contention with one of the best coaches in NBA history. You look at the Celtics, who have a young nucleus of players that they could contend, but I don't think really have a shot at him. You have the Heat, who still have Dwayne Wade. You saw what LeBron did when he went there.
He's a free agent, too, though.
Well, I think he'll resign with them. He's spent his whole career
We'll talk
there.
about Dwayne Wade. Mm-hmm. So.
And then you have the Clippers, who, when they're on, they're one of the best teams in basketball with Blake Griffin, and you have Chris Paul, and you have Mr. Free Throw, DeAndre Jordan.
Man.
Things like there's aspects to each of these teams that are appealing. I feel like
I agree, but
I think it's so much more like cut and dry to us because as fans we view it in that sense. We're like, well, why wouldn't you go to Golden State? Why wouldn't you stay in Oklahoma City?
I think there's there's definitely that pride taking into consideration, not basically taking the easy way out. I think that definitely has to take some sort of toll on players. I feel like people thought LeBron took the easy way out to go to Miami, and they don't really want to replicate that because it kind of hurts their image in a way.
No one's going to do that again.
I find it interesting that Durant is not meeting with 2 teams. 1, the Lakers, because it's the Lakers, and 2, he's not meeting with the Wizards, which is his hometown. The Wizards really went all out to try and get Durant. They had like a hashtag, like bring KD to
home or whatever.
They hire Scott Brooks as the head coach, who used to be the coach for the Thunder. And then he's like, well, I'm not even going to meet with you guys. Not interested.
Sorry.
It's like they're really, in my opinion, they're really the big losers of this whole KD sweepstakes. Because if you look about a year ago, you would say, oh, it's either the Thunder or the Wizards. Yeah. And now they're not even meeting with him.
Not even close.
So it's like they're really the big losers.
I think the real dark horse, before we move on to another player, I think the real dark horse in this one, Sacramento Kings. Okay.
Oh, my. Don't even go there, man.
There's no chance in the world that would happen. Okay, so moving on to, just real quick, obviously the number 2 free agent available, LeBron James. Pretty sure he's not going anywhere. He'll probably sign a 1-year deal, let the cap raise again, sign a 1-year deal, let the cap raise again.
Yeah, he turned down a $24 million player option this year.
Yeah, because he's probably going to get a bigger contract than
Well, he is, but I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah,
He's probably the only guy that's honestly going to turn on $24 million and get a pay raise out of it. Like knows that he's going to be okay. Because there's guys who have done this in the past that'll turn down player options, knowing that they're. I compare it to kind of Monte Ellis. Monte Ellis signed with the Mavericks a few years ago. The Kings were interested in looking at him when they had Michael Malone, but he turned down a player option, and then he ended up getting less money per year. But he did it so he can get a long-term deal. So maybe that's what's happening with LeBron, but he's going to get a raise out of it, I think. So he's worth every penny.
Some people are forecasting he gets $100 million a year, like a deal. Like he gets a $100 million deal.
Well, the salary cap's not even that high. That can't happen.
Overtime, I mean.
Overtime, yeah.
So interesting to look at that. But moving on from the obvious ones, who are some lower down the list guys that we'd be looking at here?
Well, number 3 on the list is Andre Drummond of the Pistons. You can pretty much pencil him in to stay there because he's a restricted free agent. He's going to get a max deal offer from really anyone, and the Pistons are going to match it. He means a lot to their team. He's really one of the good young centers in the NBA. Kind of reminds me a lot of DeAndre Jordan of the Clippers. So you can look at him. Mike Conley comes in at number 4, Al Horford number 5. Conley looks like he might stay with Memphis. Al Horford, there's a lot of question marks there with the Hawks. I heard the Thunder trying to make a big play for Al Horford. So if you put Al Horford on the Thunder, and you can put Durant on the Thunder,
there's some moves.
You might say that they're up there with the Warriors because you have the height of Steven Adams and Al Horford in the post. You have Durant at 6'10" on the wing. Guy like Andre Robertson, 6'7", 6'8", a good lengthy perimeter defender. You might look at them as saying they might, if things can mesh. And plus Al Horford, he used to play with Billy Donovan, who's the coach of the Thunder at Florida, University of Florida. So there is that chemistry there already. So interesting to find out what happens there. Okay.
And then you look at a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who has said he won't schedule any advanced meetings other than with Toronto.
That looks pretty good for the Raptors.
Yeah, so you think he's going to stay there. It seems like somewhere he wants to stay. Apparently the Lakers are going to chase really hard at him, throw a max contract his way. So what do you see happening maybe with DeMar?
Well, DeMar is a hometown kid. He is from...
it feels weird not saying his full name. Like, DeMar seems funny when you don't say DeRozan.
He is from the L.A. region. He's from Compton. He went to college at USC, so he is an L.A. guy. So, of course, the Lakers, they have the money. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at DeRozan.
Oh, yeah.
So I see maybe if he can stay with Toronto, he is only holding talks with them right now. That's a good sign for them. I think he probably stays.
Okay, and then another big name we said, but to finish out some of the more heavy names in the top 10 would be Dwayne Wade. I personally see him staying right with the Heat, and even if, like if you look at with the Heat, with just Dwayne Wade last year, of the remaining big three in the sense of Bosh wasn't playing, they were playing well down the stretch even with Hassan Whiteside's injury, They could have made the Eastern Conference Finals there. So Wade doesn't want to leave apparently. Pat Riley doesn't want him to leave. You think he's staying?
This is a tough one for me, honestly.
I think he stays. I find it very hard to play as long as you play in the NBA and play for one team to end up leaving.
I could see Dwayne Wade staying, but they're really not going to have a chance at winning. It's obviously Cleveland is the heavy favorite right now, barring injuries. Dwayne Wade, there could be talks about a reunion with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Wade is a little older of a guy. He does have a lot of injury problems. He's not the guy who's going to play 40 minutes anymore.
No.
I could see him maybe accepting, I don't know, maybe somewhere between $12 to $15 million a year, maybe taking a six-man role with the Cavs.
Yeah, my thing, I don't think he would ever be a six-man yet. I think...
Or maybe you put him in and bring, like, if they re-sign J.R. Smith, he's a free agent as well. If you re-sign J.R. Smith, maybe making him a six-man, because these guys don't need money. No, LeBron is opting out, but LeBron, he signed a $1 billion shoe deal with Nike, okay? He's got tons of money.
It's like a lifetime deal, isn't it?
Yes. So he could honestly say, you know what? I'm going to do what Tom Brady's done. I'm going to do what Tim Duncan's done. Take a pay cut on my salary because I'm going to make the money anyway.
Okay, yeah.
That way we could bring in more guys and keep this Cleveland train rolling for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, personally, I don't think Dwayne Wade leaves unless it's to like a legitimate contender like the Cavs. But speaking of Tim Duncan, some other big men that are actually free agents, I'll give you two here. We'll talk about them back to back. Would actually be on the list you and I have, 9 and 10 respectively in free agents. Dwight Howard and Dirk, who I'm super excited to see where he's go because, like I've told you for a long time, being a Kings fan, I love the Kings, but my favorite NBA player of all time is Dirk. Okay.
Real quick, I think Dirk probably re-signs with the Mavericks.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, a lot like Dwayne Wade, playing so long for one team really has that. Reminds me a lot of Tim Duncan in a way as well. He's aging. Maybe he'll take a pay cut. He's done that in the past.
Okay.
They're interested in trying to get a lot of guys, Hassan Whiteside being one of them, as you mentioned. I think he probably stays in Dallas. As far as Dwight concerns, if I'm a GM...
Yeah, let's talk Dwight.
If I'm a GM, I'm literally crossing Dwight Howard off my list.
Okay.
I'm not a Dwight Howard fan.
Yeah, I know you're not a fan of Dwight.
He's going to, obviously... He opted out of a $23 million salary for this year. So he's going to get thrown max money at him from somewhere. Boston's maybe looking at him. I would cross Dwight Howard off my list. I think he's not a team player. He's not putting up the numbers like he used to. He's just going to hurt the chemistry of my team, and I would not pay him what he wants, and I would just cross him out.
Well, to say a team that apparently doesn't have much chemistry but has a lot of centers. What do you think about that kind of team?
You've got to be talking about the Kings, right?
Only because that's the only place. I don't want him, believe me.
Could you imagine if they signed Dwight Howard another center?
And somebody who, another bad attitude?
They would be like the first team, a 7-foot team. Just put Cousins at the 1. Dwight wanted to shoot some threes in the past. You could put him at the 2 or 3.
God, he can't even make free throws.
Put Cauley Stein in there and Georgios Papagiannis.
And then bring
Kufis in off the bench as your 6-man.
Yeah, a 6-man playing the 3, though.
Oh, man. I don't know.
That'd be miserable.
We'll have to wait and see. It gets kicked off tonight. So
I would say Dwight is one of the most up-in-the-air ones because I don't think he's going to be – I don't think he's going to come off the board right away. Or if he does, it's going to be a team that just wants to get it done. You know what I mean? I don't expect him to have a lot of suitors, though, personally.
Okay. We'll have to wait and see. It gets kicked off tonight. So.
Yeah. We'll take one last quick break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We'll be back with a little bit more news on NBA free agency. Don't go anywhere.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hi, guys. We're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. How you doing? So we have just a little bit.
They didn't answer you.
I said, how are you doing?
Yeah,
good.
They can't answer.
Good. If you guys want to answer to that, I'm fine with that.
Or just say it. Yeah, say it to yourself.
Okay. How you doing? Okay, so we're going to get into just a couple rumors real quick with some things that have come out with the NBA. Ben, what do you have for us?
So one of the quick rumors, and probably the biggest headline so far to come out, is that the Knicks are making a huge play for Joakim Noah, formerly of the Bulls, and they are definitely the front runner. Looks like the deal is probably going to happen around $18 million a year. So he's going to be reuniting with Derrick Rose, played in Chicago. Add Carmelo Anthony to the mix. Kristaps Porzingis, the young man from Europe, was a rookie last year. Good season. What do you make of the possibility of Noah to the Knicks?
I think that's a really good move for the Knicks. You went from kind of being a laughingstock last year. You know, you only had Carmelo, and he was doing the Carmelo thing. And I think that's a good move by Phil Jackson to start getting some guys in there that can really win games for them, you know, that win important games. Because you now have two of the best players at their respective positions. You know, it's time to make a move there in your division, you know, in your conference, and start winning some important games.
Okay, I agree. I think Noah to the Knicks makes a lot of sense. The one thing I've always liked about Noah is he's not the guy that has the great skill set. He really does a lot of things well. He's a hustler, a rebounder, a really emotional guy. And that's what I've always liked about Noah. That's what made him so successful in Chicago. When I look at him to the Knicks, you mentioned it's a good deal. $18 million is pretty high, but we mentioned everyone's going to be getting a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I think with Noah to the Knicks, you have to look at the Knicks as didn't even make the playoffs last year. You got to, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yes.
So you have to really slowly climb up the ladder there. You add Derrick Rose, see if he can stay healthy or not. You add Noah. I think that might take them out of the KD sweepstakes. Phil Jackson and the Knicks probably know they don't have much of a fight there, I don't think.
Yeah. I think Carmelo, there's not really much for him there.
Right, but I feel like adding Joakim Noah definitely makes him a playoff team in the East. The East is a lot weaker. Have a lot of guys who are established now. Mm-hmm. If they can keep it together, build Porzingis, keep him keep his potential high, progressing well. I think they're definitely a playoff team, and you have to start somewhere. So
Yeah, since joining the NBA, I mean, I'm sure he was in younger places he played, but Joe Camino has probably never been the best at his position in the NBA, but he's definitely somebody who can come in and really make your team better.
Yeah, the Knicks last year were 13th in the East at 32-50. So I definitely think if you can add Noah, you already added Rose. Maybe take some time to get everyone used to playing with each other. Carmelo, Porzingis with the other two, Noah and Rose. I don't see how they can't go at least 500.
Okay. Interesting to see. What are some other rumors that are out there certainly going on right now? I know that you and I talked about a few during the break. What are some more that we have? I did see one personally. I'll see if it's the same as the one you have to say next. So let's do this back and forth. Let's go.
Okay, so Eric Gordon here.
Dang it, not the same one.
Were you? No, I thought you were going to talk about. No, okay. So Eric Gordon, he's a shooting guard. He's been looked at by a lot of teams: Houston, Memphis, the New York as well, New Orleans.
Houston's got their interest in a lot of people.
They're really interested in him. Yeah, Houston really just have, for the most part, James Harden now.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley's a good guard. I like him, but they are trying to, in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, they barely make the playoffs this year as an 8 seed. They're trying to revamp their franchise under James Harden. They're done with Dwight Howard now, so they have that load off them. So we'll have to see where Eric Gordon goes. He's a good shooter. He's had a lot of injury problems. He's a good shooter, a slasher, really aggressive. I would definitely take a play on Eric Gordon. He's a good player.
And having mentioned the Rockets, they apparently also have strong interest in free agent center Al Horford as well, according to multiple sources. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes as well.
Okay.
Good
player.
Al
Horford, we mentioned he might go to the Thunder. The Hawks are still there. Another teams that are interested in him. He's a good player.
And then less of a rumor, more of a fact. The Warriors have extended qualifying offers to Harrison Barnes and Festus Ezeli, so we'll see if that leads to, if Barnes stays, I don't think they're getting KD. So we'll see if one of those dominoes falls before the other. We kind of have an idea of how the other one's going to fall. So,
yeah, and then just real quick before we finish up here, Mike Conley, probably the best point guard on the market. He's a really good, versatile guard. A lot of teams are looking at him maybe re-signing with Memphis, but a lot of that reports are that it will determine and really hinder if he can get a 5-year contract. That's what he's set in stone. So Memphis, not sure if they're going to offer him or not. He's going to meet with the Mavericks tomorrow. The Mavericks are really interested in him. They could use some point guard help. We'll have to see what happens because Darren Williams is a free agent. He used to play there. So.
And one last rumor that's out there is that apparently the Clippers have invited for their talks to Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and Chris Paul to pitch Durant on a Big Four idea. So
yeah, a lot of teams are
throwing it all
doing
out
that.
there.
The reports are that the Warriors were pitching to Durant all season long. Another Big Four with Draymond, Clay, and Steph. So.
Isn't that tampering?
Yes, but that's really what happened with LeBron.
True.
You think about a lot of reports are that when they were on the 2012 Olympics, that it was LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. They were all on that team, and they were already in preliminary talks of maybe forming
The big three. Yeah.
So,
Well, it's be interesting to see, man. NBA free agency is unlike any kind of free agency there is, so it'll definitely be interesting and fun to watch.
I can't wait. It gets kicked off tonight, and we'll have all the deals that are being established with next Tuesday's show.
Yeah. Today, we have another show coming towards you guys, but we're done with today's. Well, at least we're done with this show. So, as always, I'd like to thank you guys for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Where can they find us, Ben?
They can find us on gsmcpodcast.com. You can click on the portfolio of the sports podcast. There's also a lot more there. There's also a lot of coming soon shows that'll kick off and launch at the later part of this year, early next year. Things like more sports shows, hockey, tennis, golf, things like poker.
More specific niche stuff.
Yeah, comedies, cars.
Anything you can think of.
Yeah, there's a lot on there. So make sure you go on gsmcpodcast.com to see all those. You can find us on iTunes, the GSMC Podcast Network. If you search sports and recreation, the top podcast, we're always floating around the top 100. A lot of our shows are on there. You can find us on things like Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube. We're on YouTube, GSMC Podcast Network. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's GSMC_sports.
Man, that was perfect. You nailed it.
Yeah, I get a lot of practice.
It's true. Okay, as always, thank you for listening. I am Alex.
And I am Ben.
And we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.